It's 9:15 in the morning, and everything you need to know at this hour is coming up right now. To make sure you don't miss anything important, subscribe to the TSN channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. And now I'll get started. Three people have been killed and 2 children injured in the Sumy region. The Russians attacked the region with dozens of drones and guided aerial bombs, according to the head of the Regional Military Administration, Ole Ryhorov. As a result of the shelling, civilian infrastructure was damaged. Last night, the Russians struck residential areas in Sumy. They destroyed 2 private houses. One of the drones crashed into an apartment building. No people were injured and the fire was successfully extinguished. In Bilopilia, a Russian drone attacked power company workers who were just about to respond to a call. This is already the 31st vehicle of Sumy that has been damaged by shelling in the past 3.5 years. In the past day, the Russians killed 2 people in the Sumy region and wounded 5 others. A 4-year-old girl from the village of Verkhnaya Pozhnya is in intensive care. The occupiers struck her house on the night before Wednesday, causing a fire to break out. Her mother and grandmother were also hospitalized with burns and injuries. In Sumy, according to the city council, a non-residential building caught fire as a result of the strikes. Private homes and the roof of a residential building in a residential district were damaged.
As a result of enemy shelling, one of them hit the roof of an apartment building. The roof was damaged as well as several windows. According to preliminary information, there are no wounded or dead. Relevant services are working at the scene.
5 people were injured as a result of a nighttime drone attack on the Odessa region. Around midnight, the enemy attacked the outskirts of Odessa. They targeted energy facilities, but the main strike hit residential buildings and a gas station. The port infrastructure was also affected. Containers with vegetable oil, vehicles, and fuel pellets caught fire. Nearly 100 firefighters worked at the scene of the fire. Rescuers even had to deploy a firefighting robot. It took more than 5 hours of work to extinguish the fire. A nighttime strike on Zaporizhzhia. As a result of the Russian attack, 1 person was injured, according to Ivan Fedorov, head of the Zaporizhzhia Regional Military Administration. Private houses and an infrastructure facility were damaged, and there are power outages. A severely wounded resident of Bilozerka died in the hospital. This happened in the Kherson region. The man came under enemy shelling the day before. 2 more people who were traveling by car were killed by the Russians in Kherson, and 5 local residents were injured when explosives were dropped on them from drones. Forced austerity is returning. The ministry says that the Russians have intensified their attacks, striking energy facilities in the Chernihiv and Dnipropetrovsk regions. At the same time, energy workers are preparing for the heating season, modernizing equipment and stockpiling necessary parts. At the same time, the shutdown of certain thermal power plants and substations is putting pressure on the entire energy system. Therefore, Ukrainians are being asked to save electricity during peak hours. The price of natural gas for the population will not increase this winter, President Volodymyr Zelensky announced after a conversation with Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko. Thus, at least until May 2026, Ukrainians will continue to pay 7 hryvnias for gas in their homes, 96 kopecks per cubic meter. This price has been in effect since May 2022, when the government introduced a moratorium on raising tariffs. The Prime Minister also announced the decision to prohibit disconnecting consumers in frontline communities from energy supply due to debts. In addition, the government has allocated an extra 1.5 billion hryvnias specifically to frontline regions to protect energy facilities from Russian attacks. It's time to step out of our comfort zone and push back against the Russian hybrid threat. The head of the European Commission spoke in the European Parliament and addressed the issue of the Russian hybrid threat. Cutting cables, violating airspace with drones, cyber attacks, and paralyzing the operation of airports. All of this, according to Ursula von der Leyen, is not accidental, but rather coordinated actions by Russia. Because the Kremlin is testing the West in this way and trying to sow discord among the allies, that is why it is time to call things by their proper names and give a coordinated response to Moscow.
These are not random attacks. This is a coordinated and escalating campaign. The goal is to intimidate our citizens, test our resolve, divide our alliance, and weaken our support for Ukraine. And it's time to call it by its name. This is a hybrid war. And we must take it extremely seriously. We must be ready to step out of our comfort zone. We need to look for new ways to act. And most importantly, we must deter anyone who tries to harm our territory and our people. The choice before us is very simple. Either we retreat and watch as Russian threats grow, or we face them with unity, deterrence, and determination.
Russian money for the benefit of Ukraine. The European Union and the United States are pressuring Belgium to allow Brussels to use the finances of the aggressor country. This concerns 140 billion euros for a reparations loan to Ukraine. They hope to agree on the decision by December of this year and to send the first tranches in the first half of the next year. However, according to journalists, the Belgian Prime Minister is very concerned about such a step. And he asked the other 26 EU countries to guarantee the legal and financial risks that may arise from using Russian assets so that Brussels would not have to return them on its own. Currently, about 300 billion euros of the Russian central bank's assets are frozen in Western countries. Two-thirds of them are held by a Belgian international company that deals with transactions and the custody of securities. Previously, the EU was hesitant to touch these funds, but over the past few weeks, this position has changed. This is due in no small part to Donald Trump's calls to use Russian assets to finance Ukraine's defense. The Russians are trying to advance through the Dnipropetrovsk region. People are forced to abandon their homes and take their belongings. Shops are closing and their owners are selling off the remaining goods before the occupiers burn them. Natalia Nahorna will tell us more about life on the border of the two regions.
This is a village that the front line is relentlessly approaching. It is located on the border between the Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk regions. It is important for the occupiers as a point to advance in two directions. And it is important for us because it is our Ukrainian village. But the Russians are driving people out of here through terror. Now we're driving through the village and we can literally see how before our eyes a settlement that once had more than 10,000 residents has emptied out. It's almost impossible to meet anyone on the street. Destroyed buildings, fallen trees. This is what the central square looks like now. This square used to be popular with people, but now it's basically just us here. There's a bit of low cloud cover today, so we're hoping there won't be any FPV drones, which have already started reaching here. From this village to the front line, it's 17 kilometers. Right now, everywhere you look, there are burned out cars and damaged houses. These are the kinds of craters here. There are torn wires nearby too. You probably won't see anything like this anywhere else in Ukraine. But right here, over these modest houses, in an ordinary village not far from the front, 3 Shaheds flew over at once.
I'll even show you what kind of gifts they left behind. They flew just 500 meters from the scene of the incident, a truly remarkable feat.
Are you planning to leave?
Of course, it's already necessary.
Hrihori is filming to show the neighbors what their house has turned into. Are there still many people staying?
No, a lot of people have already left. In my case, even about 80% have left. Because right now we're working as movers, and already about 80% have left.
Military medics are providing assistance to wounded civilians.
In this month and a half, there have been 4 civilians. For example, one woman recently after a Shahed strike was brought home with severe burns. The woman was taken to the hospital. A civilian, also after the strikes. Lately, this settlement has been heavily shelled, and after the strikes, they were in varying degrees of severity. The most serious case was this woman.
Here, it's getting harder and harder to buy anything.
And how does it work? Okay, have you left? A lot of people have left. The stores have all closed down. There's nothing left here anymore, right?
The people who are still here are worried. What if the post office and the supermarket close too? The shelves in the supermarket look like this right now. With each passing day, it's getting harder to deliver goods. This is the frontline zone. It's especially painful to see the shelves empty.
Where the fresh bread used to be.
The store management reassures everyone. We just need to get a delivery in.
The store is open, everything is fine. We're just waiting for a shipment. So everything is operating as usual.
The local residents can barely hold back their tears because they understand. In winter, with the cold and the front line getting closer, it will get even harder. We're not staying, we're slowly moving out. Because every night here is very... the shelling.
There's really nowhere to run, nowhere at all. And they just keep firing and firing. I don't even know where else they can fire anymore.
Natalina Horna, Iho Siri, Vitaly Vshanikov, TSN 1+1.
German police will be able to shoot down drones that violate the country's airspace. The relevant bill was approved by the government the day before, and after it is passed by Parliament, law enforcement officers will be able to neutralize all unidentified drones that pose a threat near airports, railway infrastructure, government vessels, and the border. A separate police unit will be created for such purposes and equipped with all the necessary means to shoot down drones. In particular, they will use electronic warfare tools and lasers, drawing on the experience of Ukraine and Israel, as these countries have more expertise in this area. They began updating defense legislation after unknown drones paralyzed operations at Munich airport last Friday. Dozens of flights were cancelled at that time. Chancellor Friedrich Merz suggests that Russia is behind these provocations. Overall, throughout the past month, the Kremlin has regularly violated the airspace of European countries. Dozens of drones entered Polish airspace and 2 fighter jets entered Estonia. Unknown objects were also detected in Scandinavian countries and Belgium. Ukrainian intelligence is certain that Russia is using Shadow Fleet ships to launch them. The TSN broadcast continues. We remind you that we are waiting for your comments as well as your subscriptions, likes, and the notification bell so you don't miss the most important and interesting updates. Well, I will continue. An explosion in Zaporizhzhia region. A family has died. This happened in the village of Hurska, where the family had a country house. As a result of the explosion, the house was reduced to ruins and a large fire broke out. From the burning house, rescuers carried out a 9-year-old girl, her father, and her grandmother. Doctors fought for their lives but were powerless. The family dog also died. The girl's mother and her younger child remained in the house, so they did not survive. According to preliminary findings, there was a gas leak in the premises. Investigators are working to determine the causes. Humanity will be able to collect water from the air in the desert. At least this is what the winners of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry are convinced of. 3 scientists have created new metal organic compounds through which gases and other chemicals can pass. This discovery means that in the future it will be possible to collect water from the air in the desert, extract carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, purify water and the environment from hazardous substances, as well as conduct electricity. This week, the prizes for medicine have already been awarded for research on immunity and for physics for discoveries in quantum mechanics. Tomorrow, the world will learn the winners of the Literature Prize, and on Friday, the main intrigue will be revealed: who will receive the Nobel Peace Prize. It's no secret that American President Donald Trump very much wanted to be considered for it, presenting himself as a peacemaker in many global conflicts.
Now to the situation at the front. Russian troops are advancing in the Sumy and Zaporizhzhia regions. Analysts from the monitoring project Deep State report on the occupiers' offensive near Novo-Mykolaiivka in the Sumy region, as well as near Novo-Ivanivka, Okhotniche, Malinivka, Vishneve and Poltavka in Zaporizhzhia. Meanwhile, the 141st Separate Mechanized Brigade is clearing Sosnivka, Koroshe, Novoselivka and Sikneve of occupiers in the Dnipropetrovsk region. This success was achieved in cooperation with the 225th Separate Assault Regiment. During the assault, our defenders eliminated 50 Russian occupiers and captured about 8. Analysts from Deep State report that the Russians are trying to retake the lost positions, but the defense forces are doing everything to prevent this. At the same time, the occupiers captured Malivka in the Dnipropetrovsk region, and the Pokrovska section of the front remains the most difficult. That is where the Russians are launching the most assaults at the moment. Across the entire front line, nearly 100 clashes have been recorded. These are the latest data from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
The TSN team is keeping track of all the most relevant news. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episodes and stay up to date with all the events. And be sure to comment on everything that interests you and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Have a great Thursday.